Well, welcome back to Just Another Solar Podcast. My name is Nigel Morris and I'll be your host for today. Proudly brought to you by our good friends at GoodWe, terrific sponsors of the show indeed. Carl's not here today, so I'm just going to quickly report that it's freezing cold and the heaters are on.
It's like he never left.
And it's like he never left. And it's been raining for a week. He's at a dance party in Amsterdam, apparently, so I don't know if we'll ever see him again. Or he may not be the same again. He may come back better. He may come back worse. We don't know. But he's having a good time. And I saw a photo of him with a headdress on of
Feathers,
some type. So
yes.
yeah, so he was armed and ready to go. We nearly got Luke on. He's actually moving house. He's in great shape, just so everybody knows. He's doing really, really well. I touched base with him the other week, and we love you, mate, and miss you terribly. And we will get him back on for an episode soon, I think, in between everything else. But of course, Jess from the TikToks is here, and Jess, good news. Mission accomplished. Both the boys who founded this wonderful show are gone. It's just you
Our
and me.
coup has been successful.
The coup's been pulled off. We're completely in control. What do you want to do with the show?
Same thing we've been doing, I think. It's been good. Let's keep it rolling.
Same?
Yeah.
Keep it rolling. All right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Just a busy little bee. Lots going on. People away, people sick. So lots of things to just, keep the wheels turning. I think most businesses are probably feeling much the same at the moment.
Indeed, the sickness is out there, isn't it? We've had a bunch of people off sick over the last week, and everyone's coming down with the flu. And we were down in Adelaide last week, of course, for our Smart Energy Adelaide conference, and had a few people with sniffles there, and then a few people with sniffles the week after. So it was a good little spreading.
Got a little plague as a souvenir.
Good little show in Adelaide. Really good attendance this year. Covered a whole heap of really interesting topics. Had the minister there. Had a bunch of really, really interesting conversations. We had a workshop on recycling and stewardship with battery companies, solar companies, wholesalers and manufacturers of various different technologies. Did some fantastic CPD training for a whole bunch of people, some great EV stuff. We had electric trucks. I hosted a bunch of stuff, including a panel session. In fact, that panel session was an absolute cracker, except it was the low point of the whole show because one of the key guests on the panel was late. Jess
You're
McPherson.
raking me through the coals. I'm so sorry. And I'm so embarrassed. I rolled in thinking I was half an hour early, and then somebody was like, "Aren't you supposed to be in there?" And I was like, "You're joking." And they're like,
"Yeah,
no." And I raced in. I think we made the time we spent together very worthwhile.
I think we did too. You were really missed, actually.
I'm so
Jess,
sorry.
No. It actually worked out just fine. But I was counting on you to be, the person on the ground. You're always our person on the ground. And in that panel, we had a mix of different people who I was trying to extract opinions and views on. But I was very, very glad when you did finally just saunter into the room. It looked like you were heading to the back of the room to have a seat up the back. And
because I didn't want to be too presumptuous. Anyway, all of this to say, did work out in the end, and
it did work out in the end.
And
we had
I
a good
will be
chat.
much more. I'm going to be so paranoid about. I hate being late at the best of times, and especially because I went and saw a customer on my way there, thinking that I had plenty of time.
I hope you got the sale.
I did.
For wrecking the conference.
I did get the sale at the least.
Oh, well, everything's okay then. You got the sale.
I could have seen him tomorrow. I could have seen him the next day. I really was like, well, I'm going past you anyway. I'll just leave a little bit early.
The juggle. I think life in the solar industry is like juggling plates, right? There's just always 6 million things to do. Speaking of juggling plates, let's talk about what's been going on. You've got a good story. I've got a good story too. So we'll share our stories. I took the dog for a walk the other day. Saw a bunch of guys up the street installing a solar and battery system.
Oh, I was wondering how this was related. Yes, continue.
Yeah. So, creepy old guy walking the dog, strolls on in. Hey, boys, how's it going? What are you doing? You installing a battery? How is it? How's the market been? Had a great old chat. ironically, interestingly, I said, "Oh, you're local?" And they went, "Oh, yeah." You know, they were from like 75 kilometres away, but you know, the
It's
person
all
up the street
relative.
decided not to choose someone local, despite the fact we got loads of good suppliers on the northern beaches. But anyway, their choice. The thing that struck me actually was, I said, "How are you feeling after the May 1st furor?" And they said, "Oh yeah, it was crazy, but you know, things have settled down." And now we're going back, or we're going back to places, putting the solar on that we didn't get to previously, and expanding all those solar systems that we didn't have time to do, which is great. And all the solar inquiries are heating up as well. So we're actually getting back and doing a lot more solar, which we hadn't done for a while. And I was reading, Warwick put out some great data on Renew Economy the other day, just the Savo actually. And in that, he mentioned that, you know, despite the drop off post May 1, this year is still the biggest year for solar, and last month was still bigger than, you know, I think it was the first half of the year. This year is still the biggest year for solar Australia's ever had. So it's you know, still a very, very strong market. And of course, when you talk to anyone about revenues, they got battery revenue that they didn't have a year ago as a consequence of the scheme as well. So that's my little local story. What about you, Jess? What have you got?
Oh, well, we can't tease our guests too much on this one because I think that
Yeah, we've
they're
got a
going to have
guest in the
some
wings.
thoughts and feelings. But I had this lovely couple come into our showroom, wanted to sit down and have a bit of a chat about battery, and we sort of start going through the process, and they start trying to tell me about this other quote they've gotten, and I'm like, tell me about it afterwards. I want to tell you fresh and clean and from, you know, with my whole heart, what I actually recommend to you. I don't want to be influenced by what somebody else has said, right? I just want to
See,
give
this is why you get the big commissions.
medium. Yeah, anyway, they take good care of me. But like, you know, just hold off. Tell me about it afterwards. I just really want to give you like a really unbiased, this is my recommendation. So I go through it all and I sort of end up like, yeah, Powerwall's great for you. Here's all the reasons I think you'll love it, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, so what about our solar? And I was like, oh, what's wrong with it? It doesn't look that old. Like, I can see on your bill, you're producing plenty. There's 2 months of the year, you're a little bit shy. Charge from the grid. Off you go. And they're like, everyone else we've spoken to has told us we have to replace the inverter, replace the solar, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I just don't agree with that. Like, we can if you really want to, but waste not, want not. I'd rather leave it there. It looks great.
Just leave it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the husband says to me, and bless his cottons, with full earnestness, because how would he know any better? He's like, but aren't the panels like really old? I'm like, no, I can see like they're split cells. Like they got to be, you know, maybe 5 or so years old max. Like, you know, they're not too bad. And he's like, but aren't they really reflective? I was like, what? I guess so. I don't know, I get a little. Like, I don't know. They put them on airports. They're not that reflective. And he's like, I just got told that all the sunlight bounces off of them, and that's why we need new panels.
Oh, wow.
And I said, what? Off of the what?
Wow.
And they're like, off the frames, like the silver frames. And I was like, oh, no.
Oh, there's some skin.
Oh,
You got to get
no.
black.
And
You got to
then,
get black because those silver ones, oof.
yeah, and I'm trying not to like cry laugh at the situation in front of these two very lovely people. Anyway,
Oh my goodness.
we left their panels alone. They're fine. But I think it just, like, it really honed in for me. Every now and again, you get that one customer that makes you remember why you do it the right way, why you take care of people. And this one, I was like, and I don't know if it was like the last person they'd talked to. They'd obviously spoken to a few different people and been given such a runaround. The stuff that they thought about the rebate was driving me bananas.
Wow.
Like just daily changes. And anyway.
Tricky, isn't it? Yeah, my cousin actually came to send me a quote, 2 quotes that he got the other day. He wants to upgrade. He's got a 14-year-old system, and he's had the inverter replaced once, and the inverter can't be serviced anymore due to the brand. I won't mention it, but and it was pretty small. And I said, yeah, I think that one's got to go. I think it's done as dash.
14 years, and the product at the time, like, you know, they make stuff different these days than they did
That's
15
right.
years ago, right?
Standards, yada yada yada, right? So yeah, put him onto someone really good. Also, speaking of which, I should give a little shout out, because a guy came out. I wonder if I've got his card here. I don't think I've got his card, damn it. A young fella came up to me at the Adelaide event last week and said, "Oh, you're Nigel. I started in solar, started my own business in solar just over a year ago. So it's kind of new to me being in business myself. And, I've listened to every single episode of Just Another Solar podcast. So it was a lovely fella. Forgive me, I've forgotten your name. Ping me a note or something, my friend. But it was lovely to meet someone who listens to the show. And he said it really was really useful and helpful. He learned things.
No, that's
So,
so good. That's
all
why
love
we
learning
do it.
things.
Actually, I'm glad you reminded me with your little with your cousin's situation. South Australia, or SA Power Networks, have just changed it. So we've still got some people residually on a high feed-in tariff until
Yes.
2028.
Like Queensland.
Yeah, yeah. So as long as you do repair work only on the system, and there's until recently there's been some wriggle room in terms of as long as the inverters are the same and the panels can go up and down by about 500 watts, and that's okay. But they've now made it so if you're replacing the inverter, it must be exactly the same, like for like.
Like for like.
No different brands, no. And, like these people with 1.5s, right? Like there's just no like for like on that. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think a lot of people are holding on to these high feed-in tariffs as a bit of a disservice to themselves. Like they have it, they've got themselves convinced that they're holding on to something really precious when they're selling in a kilowatt hour a day. So they'd be better off just buying less. But as I'm preaching to the choir here. But yes, I think a good change. I understand why people are a bit perturbed by it maybe, or they feel like they're sort of having something taken away from them. But I do think it'll be good in the long run.
Speaking of which, at the conference last week in Adelaide, we actually had a terrific presentation from SAPN about all their changes, which I sat in on. Really, really good. It's so amazing when you hear from a DNSP who is clearly so tuned in to the practical issues that the market faces. And, sometimes they can be difficult to adapt to or whatever else. But, without fail, SAPN seem to really be all over this.
Yeah.
And they make adaptations to the programs. They've, loosened up some of the program rules, which allows for certain things to happen which you couldn't previously do. They had all their statistics up there about, the pass and fail rates and what their rules and regs were, about 3 strikes and you're out and all those kinds of things. So, yet again, SAPN demonstrating fantastically how to get a program rolled out in the market.
And they have really good people, like really good people who are just super proactive and super solutions focused.
They really get it.
They want to make it work. Like, they're not looking for a reason to say no. They're always looking for a reason to say yes, in my experience. And that's just...
It's like
so nice.
It's like the country. It's like the country town benefit or something. That they are quite connected. There's only 80 of you down there in South Australia,
true.
so
that's true.
We
all went to school together, so it's fine. Yeah.
That's right. You're all cousins. But comparatively, in New South Wales, we've had some big news in New South Wales, which is maybe going to be a good segue into our guest soon. But we're involved in a launch the other week of interest-free loans, which is targeted at low-income owners. So it's a really, really good program in the sense that maximum household income of $210,000 from memory, maximum interest-free loan of $15,000. Pretty well set up, ready to go on the day of launch. Couple of really good providers who are involved, who've already got schemes in place and vetting in place and all those kinds of things. So the interest-free loan component, was fantastic. They also announced a discount, which sadly is not available yet. So they announced it, but it's not available till later on in the year. I'll give you I'll give our listeners a little secret. For members of the Smart Energy Council who attended our webinar the other week, they would have been online and heard us chatting with the department about this program and really nudging them to, not let this cause a problem in the market, such as we have seen in New South Wales before. Let's
like
not go
3
there.
times in the last 2 years, it feels.
We've all got a bit of PTSD, including, I think, in fairness, a lot of the people in government who had to sort of dig themselves out of that somewhat chaotic mess. But we did get a commitment out of the New South Wales government during that member-only call. I will reveal to everybody that they gave us a commitment that it would be a couple of months. We very quickly did the maths and went, that's August 16th. Fantastic. Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing the $4,000 discount. You're not allowed to call it a rebate. There's a $4,000 discount that will roll out. Our concern with all of these programs is always that we don't cause a lull in the market like we've seen in the past. So that was our only real criticism, is make sure you're ready to go when you make these announcements and you've got everything in place. There's been a lot of argy-bargy and a lot of concerns about some of the kind of details, which I won't bore everyone with, but there's a lot of sort of mechanical details around the whole program, and you've got to get approved and you've got to get this and you've got to get that, and who's managing it and how's it going to be managed. And I will highlight that the $4,000 discount is only available to people with a household income below 81,000, I think it was, per annum. So it's very targeted at the ultra low income earners, those people who need it most, which is wonderful. And I think pensioners and people on war vets and people on disability pensions and stuff like that. So really, really well targeted. And renters, some special mention of renters in that program as well.
That's good. It's interesting as well, like the trend towards this way. SA's reps scheme that finally, eventually, we've gotten some details on after a long wait, is vastly diminished and very selective. So it makes it very hard, I think, for people to advertise it. I struggle to know how to bring it up in a conversation. What am I supposed to say? Hey, you look old enough that maybe you could qualify for a couple $100 extra. That's not a pleasant.
Who you're referring to, Jess?
To a hypothetical customer, of course, Nigel. Definitely, it wasn't looking you in the eyeballs when I said no. But it is. I think it's a hard thing. I think I'm pretty gentle. I think I can. I think I can sort of be quite tame in these sorts of things, and I'm still I don't know how to bring this up. I don't know, and I don't want people to miss out on the money, but it's it's not a huge amount of money anymore, and it's a lot to explain, and I have to figure I don't want to bring something up and be like, oh, you could get a couple $100. Oh wait, you're not quite old enough, or quite you look like you have a pension or something. It's a weird line to broach, and it's fine if that is then being taken off of our plate, right, as a retailer, and we're just here to sort of answer questions to the people who do bring it up. But I don't know how people are hearing about it now without people like us doing that.
Well, here, and I mean, this is the concern, and I've been saving reels and Instagram things from a variety of New South Wales companies who are already promoting the bejesus out of the New South Wales scheme and looking for the asterisk and looking for the T's and C's, and of course everyone's leading with, we've got money. Call us, which is understandable from a business perspective, but we've got to get to the details. So challenges, but another nice little story is one of our staff who's a single mum, really struggling with power bills, falls under the eligibility for the interest-free loan, which is just wonderful. She was over the moon when she realised this applied to her, and so she's racing to get a solar and battery system in, and support her 2 kids, which is just a great example. And hopefully we'll hear more about that story. This sounds like a fabulous opportunity. Oh, actually, before I segue, because I do want to mention this. The ACCC released a report today, interestingly, which sort of looked at the battery program and some of the pros and cons of the cheaper home battery program. It was demonstrate. It was great evidence from the ACCC of the savings. Thousands of dollars per year of savings from people from having batteries and solar, which was fantastic. And they sort of did a really interesting analysis where they showed, well, if you're with a VPP or not with a VPP, how much would you save? And interestingly, the difference was between 100, and I did some maths before we came on air, 100, the difference between being on a VPP or not on a VPP was 184 to 400 bucks a year, 433 bucks a year. So a VPP is going to save you an extra 2 to 400 bucks a year, which is actually, interestingly, if you go back, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, when we did a whole lot of modeling on this when I was with Solar Analytics, that was the conclusion that we came to back then, along with a whole bunch of other people, was, it's worth a couple of $100 a year. So if you're happy to take the swings and roundabouts, there's a couple of $100 a year in it. Seems like the ACCC's just validated that.
I think what's hard about the VPP conversation for me is, like, it's nice to be potentially able to get a couple $100 more for people, and I want to be able to encourage it a lot more. I think people are very adverse to the idea of someone else moving their power around. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to turn that into a selling point. And mm-hmm. I think there are some programs that do a better job because they're no lock-in, or they have nice incentives up front just to yep. join, to try and see how you feel about it. Yep. I think that helps yep. to guide people into it. But yeah, I find a lot of people who are very adverse to the idea of not having full control of something on their home and not having visibility as to how those decisions are being made. Not that I encourage giving that sort of visibility to people, because then you're just going to have to be criticized by your consumer base on every decision of an algorithm, which is ridiculous. But
it's such a challenge, yes. right? I mean, I've got solar and batteries. I've got the 3 hours of power rocking and rolling now. I'm trying to manage loads in the house a bit. I don't have time to I ran out today. Well, why's the oven on? It's 2:03. Why? We just filled the batteries. It's winter. Why is the oven on? And if I had a VPP in the equation too, understanding the behavior and on a cloudy, rainy day when you're taking advantage of all these things and trying to minimize your costs. And, when I'm paying for peak power at 70 cents a kilowatt hour where I am, you don't want to be doing that too often. And so you kind of get a bit manic about it. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, it is the complicated world we live in. The ACCC highlighted that, and how there's still a lot of work to be done, both in terms of the way the offers are pitched and in terms of the way the offers actually behave. So, we all look forward to that. I want to highlight segue. I'm nearly there. Sorry. The other one that I want to shout out is the ACCC also called out the NetCC program. They mentioned the NetCC, and they actually copped a clip over the year, which I thought was valid. As you know, I've been involved on and off over the years in the previous iterations of it, so I'm a bit of a fan of programs that help protect consumers, right? That's a great principle. But along the way, the Approved Solar Retailer program, which is now the NetCC program, is challenging at times. It is mandatory to participate in the interest-free loans or the discount program in New South Wales, so you must be signed up for NetCC. Good on you, NetCC. You're getting a few new sign-ups, I'm sure. But they copped a clip over the year where it said the NetCC program was, and I quote, limited by factors such as independent dispute resolution or appeal process, a reliance on self-reported audits for compliance, and a lack of transparency around breaches. So this has highlighted the concerns that a lot of people have raised to me, and it is in fact one of the reasons why I removed myself from the NetCC industry panel some years ago, because I was concerned about exactly these kinds of things. So I think there's work to be done for the NetCC to be ready and fully capable in today's market. With that, because I know our guest has opinions and views and experience. Well, Bobbi McKibbin, for those of you who don't know, is a stalwart. For listeners, we had a potential guest lined up for this week who pulled out at the last minute, and so Bobbi very generously agreed to jump in. I think with less than an hour's notice, was curled up on the couch with the fire on and her Uggies, and has raced down to the office. So thanks so much for jumping in. Bobbi, we've talked about so much. For those who don't, let's start with, for those who don't know you and haven't had the wonderful experience of a Bobbi hug.
Somehow managed to avoid Bobbi.
I'm going under the radar these days.
Who the hell is Bobbi McKibbin? What's your story? Why are you here?
Geez, Nigel, 20 years this year actually for me in the industry. So
is that right?
Yeah, big one, big number for me. So yeah, I've been in the industry for 20 years. I've been a business owner since 2009. This is my second business. The first business Brett and I had with other business partners, and then that disbanded, and then we created Solar Integrity. So and Solar Integrity is 9.5 years old, so nearly 10 years in this business, and it's like, oh my God, where the hell has that time gone? It's like when you have children and you get through primary school and you go, shit, where did that 6 years go? And yeah, but I've been involved in many things within the industry and share many passions as both of you as well around fairness and equity within the industry and across the industry in all levels, and also huge in consumer advocacy as well. So I believe everybody should have a positive solar experience. So when I hear shocking ones, Jess, you said before that I'd be shocked and laughing and crying. It's unfortunate that a lot of the time what the customer believes depends on where you come in the chain of how many people they've talked to. So how many lies do you have to undo? Because the first person they speak to sets the bar, and you may have to undo a lot of their work, which we've all experienced that, except those that are doing the lying. They never experience that. So that's been a big thing for me around those two things, equity and consumer protections. But I've sat on a number of industry boards as well, and round tables around training and everything too. And I currently also sit as a non-executive board member of Solar Accreditation Australia as well. So I've made an impact of being a pain in the ass for a number of people, particularly governments. Shout out to all the government people that might be listening. So
because you're a wonderful advocate for people. You're so willing to stick your hand up for people who otherwise wouldn't have anyone batting for them. So
yeah, I'm great at looking after other people, awful at advocating for myself. So, but that's fine. I much prefer to fight for others and sell others than sell myself or fight for myself.
Yeah. I want to dig in a little bit on that, because I know you have pulled back. You mentioned that you've pulled back a little bit, and I've gone through the ups and downs of you just can't do everything, right? You got to look after yourself. You got to look after your business. You got to look after your kids and your partner and everything else. And it's easy to get wrapped up and sort of caught in the cyclone of joining every panel and every committee, and I've seen you do that. You were huge in a wise, and and you've pulled back from a number of those things. So I've got two questions for you. Number one, what actually drove you to actually get so involved in all of those kinds of things, given that you're a busy person with a life, and how did you get to the point where you went, I actually need to step back a little bit and encourage other people to step up?
Yeah, it's really interesting, Nigel, because I suppose this industry, we're all at the perils of government, and we've all experienced so many different changes within our industry. Even if you've been in the industry 12 months, guess what? You've experienced a pretty big change too. But those of us that have been in for 20 years, it's not called the solar coaster for nothing. And I think probably the first big industry protest that I went to was in Newcastle when they were pulling the 60 cent, when they were going to change the 60 cent feed-in tariff in New South Wales from gross to net without, you know, they were just going to pull it. And
that was a cracker.
Yeah, so because I was annoying the shit out of, I can't think of the minister's name at the time. He was actually really good. I don't think it was Matt Keane. I think it was somebody else. Anyway, I was annoying the shit out of them and got an invitation miraculously. So went, yeah, hell, why not? And that's where I got involved there, because I'm like, you know, we're all in this for the same reason, or most of us are in this for the same reason, and that's transitioning to renewables, that's to do better by the environment, that's to give our customers better outcomes. But if decisions are being made and we're not at the table, yet we're the ones that have to deliver it, and we're usually the ones that have to, you know, we're the face of all of this, not the government's making the decisions, but the installers and the retailers are the face of it. We need to have a seat at that table where those decisions are made, because if it's not, it goes pear-shaped, and it goes pear-shaped quickly and goes pear-shaped big. And we saw that in Victoria with the solar homes rebate when they first brought that in. That was an absolute mess. But thank God we actually had a minister who listened. You know, Lily D'Ambrosio is probably the best minister I've ever come across in 20 years, who has actually listened and then put in place the industry and consumer reference group for Solar Victoria, and we've had great success out of that. We've made amazing changes. It's been an incredibly successful program. So, you know, fighting to have a seat at the table has been very important for me, and that plays into a WISE as well. You know, we wanted to see more women at trade shows, and because, you know, it literally was walk around the trade show, and if you saw another woman, you're like, holy shit, where did she come from? Haven't seen one of them in the last 3 days or something like that. You know, you were literally the only one, or one in 3,000 people sort of thing. So we wanted to increase that. And the other, you know, people were always talking about the industry, but when they were talking about the industry, they were only talking about installers. They weren't talking about the sales staff, the admin staff, you know, the all the other roles that go into
booking, the admin, the logistics.
That's right.
Which typically you tend to find more women in those roles, right?
Yeah, so that's where it's like, if we're going to talk about our industry, let's talk about our industry in full and not just segmented. And it was one of the things that used to bug me about the CEC awards. They were all installer awards, and we had under 1% of female installers at the time. So, you know, women, and it's quite possible that women played an integral role in a lot of those awards that were won, but never recognised for it. So, so that's, you know, and then I suppose there was lots of different things that occurred around, you know, just some toxicity that was happening. COVID did a lot of really bad things to people, you know. It really screwed around with people's minds, and it just, you know, it was pretty sad, some of the stuff that comes out that, and we've still got ramifications of that, and I think we will for decades. But there was one I got talked into. Love Pat Southwell. He's been one of my favourite people in the industry.
Shout out Pat, we love Pat.
Yeah. He talked me into applying for a position on the installer reference group with Clean Energy Council at the time, and I went, yeah, you know what, it, I will. So I did that.
I think he talked me into that as well, actually.
And it's probably about the same time, Nigel, because it was really funny. I remember sitting on my couch at home one Friday night, and the announcement came up as to who was going to be on the installer reference group, and people shit-canned you, or people that were not installers for being on that group.
Yep.
And I sat there, and my name is, you know, Bobbi McKibbin. It's not exactly whether it's male or female, not necessarily clear. And I just sat there and I thought, holy fuck, wait until they find out I'm a woman. I'm like, if they're chicaning Nigel Morris, who has done so much for our industry and is one of our biggest advocates, and they're hanging it on him and they're cracking, I'm like, no way. And I actually sent you a private message and said, for God's sake, Nigel, whatever you do, do not back out of this. And I'll have it in my messages somewhere, Nige. That was through Facebook that I sent you that. And it's probably the first interaction that we ever really had, I think. But it just meant so much to me to have important, people that play integral roles and a balanced perspective of our industry in those positions.
So that's how you got roped in, right? That's how you got roped in. You just kind of realised that to make your business work, and to deliver the outcomes that you want, which is good systems for people and good environmental outcomes and right livelihood, all those kinds of things, you just kind of go broader and broader and broader and broader and broader. You get into all these panels and all these groups, and then there comes a time, right?
There absolutely comes a time. So, Awise was kicking off really well, and we were getting a lot of good government support and programs and stuff. But unfortunately, people's availabilities were just not there, and that was nobody's fault. It was just what it was. And I ended up doing too much because, there was government funds at stake. We had to deliver. And I just burnt out. And I'm like, what? And also, exactly what you said before, sometimes if you don't step back, other people don't step up. So I really had to step back because I wanted other people to step up. And we had seen significant changes in the numbers of women coming in and engaging. And it was, Awise has been really successful in that, and changing the status quo. It is different to what it was, 6-7 years ago in our industry now. And I think we are richer for all the women being seen and appreciated and that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, I just needed to step back. I had some health stuff going on, all of that sort of stuff, And the other thing was as well, if you're doing one thing 24/7 and not other things outside of that, I don't think it's healthy. It is for a little while and you love it for a little while, but you can lose your passion. And I didn't want to do that. So I needed to do something different as well. And stupidly, oh my God, I've gone into politics. What the fuck was I
was about to say, hold on a second. I've been following you, Bobbi.
What could possibly go wrong there?
Intelligence is obviously not very high on my scale.
What's that? Like, there's wisdom and there's intelligence, right? Like, sometimes you can have a bit more of one than the other.
I think I am hitting the wisdom stage though, because I am, a lot of people ring me and ask me lots of questions and personal things, about career perspectives and all that sort of stuff. So I quite enjoy that role now of playing, bit of the mentorship role. Yeah, I love that. Like, you get to connect with some amazing young people in our industry. I just love it.
It's such an interesting story, and I actually want to take this opportunity to shout out to, because I know there's some young people, like the young fellow I met down in Adelaide. Now's your opportunity, folks, because we need the next generation of people coming through this industry. We need people who can release the burden from those who've done it for a long time and just keep the balance, allow everyone to keep a bit of balance. If you're out there and you've never joined a committee, you've never joined an industry reference group, you haven't sat through the tedious evening meetings that can be really boring and hard work, but they're a really, really, really crucial part of keeping policy on track, keeping regulation on track, making sure that things don't get out of control. And actually, I have to say, the solar industry is quite unique in being highly, highly engaged, because we have to be. We're so dependent on those rebates. And so if you want to secure your livelihood as a business owner or a business operator, get fucking involved. Get involved.
I'd chime in as a youngin', that there's just so much wisdom to soak up as well. Like, I'm just sitting here, like, just enamored and just, like, soaking it all in, but which I'm just so privileged and lucky to get to do all the time with the best people in the industry. But I think there's a lot, there's a lot to learn. Like, we don't have to make the mistakes a second time. And if
we've made them for
and if we're open, if we're 3 or 4 or 5 times, but I think if we're really open to sort of like soaking in that knowledge and that experience, and also almost the attitude, like I'm just like soaking up the aura, like the vibes, because I find it really inspiring. I think it's the biggest thing that gets me past the imposter syndrome, which I'm crazy get anytime anyone recognizes me for this podcast. I'm always like, yeah, no, that is me for sure. That is something that I do, and I think it gives you a level of confidence to know that the doing it is the confidence. Like it's the same thing. It's not a separate category, and I get that a lot from.
Let me flip that though, because the risk of having done a job for a long time is you get stuck in your ways and you think it's always going to be the same.
Yeah,
and
totally.
The wonderful thing about having views from someone like yourself, Jess, or the next generation is we get fresh views and we get fresh perspectives, right?
Totally.
And that's how we're going to really evolve. And again, our industry with the engagement levels that we have in these kinds of groups and panels is highly, highly unique.
Yeah, I just feel so good. I just feel so nice about this conversation.
Can I just
I'm so hopeful.
Add to that as well, though. A lot of our young people, they might feel like, I don't know, they don't feel confident often in speaking up when somebody asks their opinion. But please speak up, because you're being asked because we want to know and we care. Like I've got a big thing in our business around continuous improvement and all of that sort of stuff, and even reporting of workplace incidents or near misses and stuff. It took a long time for my staff to realise that I was being serious in the fact that I want you to report it because I don't want to punish anyone, but because I want to look for patterns for continuous improvement. And unfortunately, society has been geared towards the blame element, and that's not what any of that's about. So when somebody comes to you and asks you for your opinion or input on something, jump at it, go for it, because that's where real change happens. But I just want to go back, Nigel, as well. The best thing about being involved in all of those committees, and if anybody gets an opportunity, please say yes. The best thing is the people that you get to meet along the way. Like, you get outside your square box or whatever it is that you live in, and you go out and you meet amazing people within the industry and you form some great friendships.
And different perspectives, right? Like,
yeah.
You mentioned earlier how maybe nervous you were about people finding out that you were A, not an installer, and B, a woman. Scary, terrifying. Ooh. But if you don't talk to people who are doing different jobs, let alone have different lived experiences or, are from different backgrounds, or, insert your category here, you simply will not see it from that angle, from that perspective. It's so valuable. Preaching to the choir, as per usual, I think.
Yeah. So true.
Nigel, so I'm gonna steer the ship a little. Do we need to do a break?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Jess, for reminding us that we have a valuable sponsor who helps keep the wheels turning, pays the bills, the hosting and everything else that all happens in the background. We don't get money out of this, but it does cost us a bit to keep the show on the wheels. So, segue to our valuable sponsors, please.
Hey solar retailers, the GoodWe Rewards platform is back with $20 million in rewards available for you. Claim on every 5 and 8 kilowatt hour ESA battery module or ESA 30 kilowatt 60 kilowatt hour unit purchased from your distributor. Redeem your rewards on anything in our online catalogue, including Visa gift cards. Record, submit, get rewarded. Visit goodwerewards.com.au now.
GoodWe. We love GoodWe. They've been a great supporter of the show.
I had the best chat with John in Adelaide as well. He is so insightful. Oh, just delightful. If you haven't ever had a sit down and chat, it doesn't matter if you don't like sell the product. Just go and have a chat with him. It'll still be like well worth your time.
I love John.
He's another one who's Yeah, he's been around for a long time and done a lot. Speaking of really, 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 really old people, I want to give a shout out to Lindsay Hart, who called me up last weekend, actually. Lindsay is a solar pioneer, been around forever and known to many, many people. And he actually rang me last weekend and said, Nigel, I just want to let you know that I'm really, really enjoying retirement. And you know, he checked in on me.
I
And he
thought he
said,
might
how
have
you
been rubbing
going?
it in more to the point with Lindsay.
No, he was, I mean, he did mention some of the good things that he was doing and how relaxed he was and so on. And he had some feedback for us on the show, which resulted in a couple of little edits to a couple of previous episodes. So thank you, Lindsay. We took you seriously and made those changes. Yeah, so, you know, we do get feedback, and there's massive value in the people in the elder states, men and women in the industry who've, you know, gone through the school of hard knocks and made lots of mistakes along the way, but there's also equal huge value in trying to get that next generation through.
Our pioneers are some of my favourite people because they've been so open and welcoming. And a lot of them were the drivers behind more women joining the industry as well, because that's what they wanted to see for the industry too.
True. And actually, I'm going to give a shout out to Gaynor Marie as well from Big Sister Mentor Lead. I don't know if you've ever come across her, Bobbi. Gaynor is a lady who is a qualified electrician, did her trade, and runs a mentoring program for female electricians through the Electrical Trades Union.
Yeah, great.
And she told a bunch of stories about, you know, the challenges she'd faced down at the Adelaide conference the other week. And it was amazing and really, really impressive to see what they'd done in setting up a mentoring program. And it's
I have a question for you, Bobbi, if I can, on this topic. How do you feel, or how do you navigate wanting to make sure that men don't feel alienated by this? We need more opportunities specifically for women conversation, or, you know, we're trying to shine a light on women particularly, you know, and obviously I think for the most part they understand why these programs are in place, but it's still, it's very hard for a lot of men to not be almost a bit defensive or feel like they're missing out on something in these conversations.
Yeah, we had that issue here when there was an extra incentive for female apprentices going on. A lot of the boys are like, well, why not me? That's not fair. But they also didn't understand the extra barriers that are there for women joining as an electrician. So, you know, there was lots of tough conversations, I suppose, had around that. But you find your champions, you know, and that's what we did. We knew we had a lot of supportive men within the industry that wanted to see more women joining and coming together. And, you know, one of the pivotal people who helped put AWISE together was Jack Long.
I love Longy.
You know? Shout out to Longy.
Yeah, so, you know, Jack helped put pieces together because I didn't know Sam and I didn't know Keisha. And Jack gave me those introductions and I was so grateful for that. So, you know, that was fantastic. And then, Nigel, you were one of our biggest supporters, but we always wanted to create an event that was inclusive, because if you want change, you've got to have everybody at the table. You can't just run a women's event or a men's event, because that's exclusive and that's not going to lead to change. All that's going to lead to is more segregation, and that's what we don't want. So if you want to create a community like that is whole and representative of what the community is, then you've got to have everybody around the table. Same thing, you know, it's the same as when I fight for rural and regional people versus metro people around a Solar Vic table or something like that. It's exactly the same. It's just wearing a different hat. Instead of being male-female, it's metro-rural. You know, we fight that every day as a rural and regional person with, you know, things like healthcare and all of that sort of stuff as well. So, but if you want to make change, you've got the people who could really make the change in our industry about bringing more women in and bringing more women to conferences and everything were the men. Without that, we wouldn't have had it.
It's so true, and I often try to simplify this because I'm a simple man, and it's pretty easy for people to just go, oh, this is just the fucking woke agenda. It's the woke agenda. We need more chicks, and it's just the woke agenda. And when you step back a little bit and actually be reasonable about it, you can look at life, and you can look at all sorts of issues and go, you know what? Life is like a pendulum, right? And when things get out of whack, for example, women being treated unreasonably or not being, the needs of women not being taken into account in workplaces. Toilets, for example, is just a massive one, right? Women are different to men and they need access to toilets in different ways and more frequently. And it's just a simple fact. And so whenever I hear guys going, oh, this is just the fucking woke agenda, I just go, you know what, mate? We've had it, the pendulum's been over here for men for eternity. Right? We've ruled the world. Okay, it might feel like the pendulum's gone a little bit over here for a while, but guess what? There's a bit of a correction required.
It always happens so much. That's it. Look at work health and safety. Work health and safety always goes really, really tight, and then it sort of laxes a little bit, and you find your new norm.
You find the balance, right? You find a balance. So it's get off your bloody high horse and stop worrying about it being a woke agenda, and just accept that
look at the Industrial Revolution. Women were the workers in the Industrial Revolution. Look at what happened after World War II, or during World War II, and every World War. The women were always left at home and had to keep the country running and had to keep the families going and everything. So, we're more than capable. We're more than willing.
We've got two hands. It's really all we need for this kind of work.
And a brain. 2 hands, a brain,
I was one of the first CPD course events that I ever went to. Incidentally, like I don't yet need CPD points. I have just started doing my designer course. So I will soon.
Well done.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Thank you, New Energy Training. I'm looking forward to it. The first one, and it was Jeff Bragg giving the talk, and I just happened to be in the room, right? And I'm just curious. I was like, oh yeah, I'll learn about some circuit breakers. Give me. And so we get through that module, and then he does a little short, 5-point course about why it's important to have women in renewables. And some guy, and I don't know who it is. I didn't know anyone back then. I wasn't trying to put names to faces or anything especially, but he put his hand up and he was like, I just find this ridiculous and blah, blah, blah. And bless Jeff, who really did put him in his place and say hold on a minute, this, if this isn't for you, then you can go kind of thing, bloody legend. But I think it's really important because I definitely wasn't at a stage where I was going to put my hand up and go, well, maybe this isn't about you, mate, or something it was really intimidating as well.
And that's where you need the peers to come in and say, hang on, cool your jets, let's have a think about this. And I know exactly who that person was, I reckon, because they went on and did a rant on social media, and somebody rang me in and was gone, have a look at this, so I did a rebuttal.
Ooh. But I think it's one of those ones where because I've been really so lucky to I've been mentored by literally the best people, I now am in a position where I can say I can stick up for not just women in the industry, which I fortunately haven't found myself much in the position to need to do so which is so far anyway is quite nice. But being able to stand up for people when I just don't think they're getting a fair go of it, because I've been now put in a position where I can, which is
that's
pretty
what it's about,
wonderful.
Jess. That's exactly what it's about. It's not necessarily about, whether it's a man or a woman or anything like that. It's about another human being treated equally as everybody else. So, we've got a whole lot of people that sit under the LGBTQI flag in our industry, and I'm sure some of them have been pretty scared at times to come out.
Oh, totally.
And same, even talking about neurodiversity within our industry, that was another big thing. And when that came out and was talked about, the amount of people that started talking about it was phenomenal. So, we're a big industry and we're made up of all sorts of different people. So, yeah, just be decent is the easiest way to do it.
Doesn't feel like a big ask when you say it like that, Bobbi.
Yeah, so true. Be decent. For God's
Like
sake, it's not that hard.
Basic. It's pretty basic.
We, despite the fact that I am loving being outnumbered by the girls of Solar on a show which hasn't happened for a while, and it's a
Rev,
great
it's so
conversation.
nice. Holy moly.
We are running out of time, and we've covered an awful lot of really interesting and valuable ground. So thanks for the good contributions. We should wrap it up though, and I'm going to start with you, Jess, to give us your thoughts for the day. How would you wrap up this week? What's coming next week?
Oof.
What's big for you?
Oof. We have had a very tough couple of weeks because between having people on leave, which is like the perfect time of the year to go on leave, and then of course that's exactly the time that you have this huge influx of leads, and then people are sick, and we're also trying to train someone, and it just rains, it pours. And it's fine. So it has been a really challenging week, but our business is really good about celebrating wins, and we've sort of this year really injected a bit more life back into that program. So we people nominate within our sort of group Facebook group a post, and they tag people who've done something really nice, and it's great because you otherwise wouldn't hear these stories about the ways the installers maybe help each other out. Or we had a really good one where one of my co-workers made a bit of a boo-boo, put a panel on pylon 3 houses down and didn't realize, and so the customer paid 20 panels, there were 19 up there, and the install team came together to make it happen, to get that panel on the roof after they finished and packed down, and I think they got a carton today, so it's all come around quite nicely. So I love that. Yes, I love that. I'm left feeling quite hopeful. I'm feeling really good about being in the busy, but just there's so much good to celebrate at the moment. Awesome message. And Bobbi, what about you? Give us your closing thoughts for the day.
For me, I think we just need to peg it back a bit, and I think we just need to, just to stop and breathe a little bit more than what we have been. It's been pretty intense the last 12 months, and every time there's a rebate change, you have a couple of months that are intense, but we had an intense 12 months, which was great. It was like the industry was, 15 plus years ago. It was fantastic to see it so buoyant again. But at the same time, it takes a toll. And, some businesses might be a little bit quiet at the moment, and we might have a lull with what's happening in New South Wales, Nige, as that ramps up. But just enjoy it. Our admin, when she started with us 2.5 years ago, she goes, oh, yeah, it's a little bit quiet. And I'm like, no. I said, you enjoy this because it's not going to last. And then when we got busy, she goes, oh my God, it's so busy. I said, remember when you said it? She goes, yeah, now I get it. So, just peg it back a little bit, I think, and just take time to chill and relax. Checking on your mates. And plan that holiday. Plan that holiday.
Yeah. Here. Great advice. And I'll round out those two really lovely messages with reference to one of my favourite all-time artists, actually. For those of you who've never heard of Paul Anka, go Google him now. He's a prolific songwriter from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and I think even into the 90s. He's written so many songs for so many artists, and he's one of the most prolific songwriters ever, hugely successful in his own right. And Paul Anka was interviewed once. He's got, I think, 6 spectacularly beautiful daughters. He grew up in Hollywood in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And I saw this interview with him, and they said, how on earth did you raise 6 wonderful human beings, gorgeous daughters, and survive all of that in Hollywood? And he said, the secret to my success was everything in moderation, including moderation. So have a little bit of fun, have a good time, enjoy life, but also a little bit of moderation. And I think it was a very, very wise saying. I've thrown it at my 18 and 22-year-old and my 34-year-old many, many times over the years. So, have some fun.
I don't know if you want to tell the young adults to moderate their moderation, but brave of you, Nigel. Super brave.
Well, look, the reality is that people do stuff, right? People do stuff.
I was just, that name, I knew that name. He's Jason Bateman's father-in-law.
There you go. See, that's just one of his men. Google him. He's
fascinating.
Written, we have all heard songs by him. But I thought his advice about, just enjoy your life, but don't burn the candle at both ends perpetually. Don't remember to just take a step back. I think that's a great way to wrap up the episode, especially given where the industry's at. Bobbi McKibbin, thank you for joining us. Thank you for bailing us out at such late notice. Great, always talking to you.
No worries.
Jess McPherson, thank you as always. World and podcast domination is now ours. We don't have to let Carl and Luke back ever.
No, Luke can come back. Carl can go for a little bit. That's okay. And then we'll miss him. It's like the heart grows fonder, and then he can come back.
Carl's just on a canal somewhere in Amsterdam.
I don't think he's doing any moderation.
That's right. Well, come back safe, Carl. Listeners, it's always wonderful to have you out there. We know you're out there. We appreciate you. Give us a like, a share, and tell your friends about the show. Thank you again to GoodWe for the wonderful support, and we will talk to you next time.
G'day, it's Alex Carey here. The new GoodWe ESA home battery is here, and it's a game changer with leading performance and safety features. The GoodWe ESA series is available now. Visit goodwe.com.au for more information.